Just after posting our no-nonsense piece on the Canon EOS R4 yesterday, it's time to revisit the Canon EOS R6 Mark III. And it's mostly good news, although there are a few Debbie Downers. But if you can look past the Debbie Downers, you'll be happy to know that the EOS R6 Mark III will be getting some enhancements that aren't found in the EOS R5 Mark II and the EOS R1, cameras that were announced earlier this year on July the 17th. Which will no doubt make some of them envious. But first, I have a simple request. Please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. Yesterday's news story was all about the Canon EOS R4 and how all the information that we had out on this camera, all the rumors, all the specifications, no matter how detailed they appear to be, is pretty much bunk. No Q1, Q2, or even the entire year of 2025. Don't expect an R4, it's not going to happen, but today's news story is all about the Canon EOS R6 Mark III, and I've got good news, lots of good news. The information that we have is validated, but we also have a couple of enhancements that, well, I wouldn't call them enhancements, they're new capabilities really, that we should have seen in the R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1, but they're not coming out in those flagship cameras, they're coming out to the R6 Mark III. So, what's our first bit of good news? Well, it's the date. The Canon EOS R6 Mark III is widely believed to be coming in the first quarter of 2025. And I think that's most likely to happen in the week preceding CP+, which takes place on February the 27th to March the 2nd, 2025. Now, Canon Rumors says that, yeah, it could certainly happen in the week preceding CP+, as is usually the tradition, or it could happen afterwards. I know what you're thinking, Ryan. I'm thinking the same thing. Why would they, wouldn't that be frustrating? You go out to CP+ at Yokohama, Japan, maybe you fly from Europe or North America and you get there and guess what? Canon's decided to let this show run its course and then after you leave, they're going to make the announcement. I really do hope they announce it before because you get hands-on and I think, well, to me that makes the most sense. Makes the most sense to me. What about you? Let me know in the comment section down below. Canon Rumors goes on to say that it shouldn't come as a surprise as the R6 Mark III isn't going to be a complete revolution like its predecessor, but it will address some weaknesses and evolve from the current EOS R6 Mark II, at least address a couple of firsts in the lineup. Got it, so don't expect it to leapfrog the competition. But when Nikon announced the Nikon Z6 III, it really became best in class. Is Canon hoping that with the R6 Mark III that it's now going to become best in class? Well, as we get through all the, well, validated leak specifications in this video, I think that you're going to see that it has the potential to do so. But as always, these are specs. What really matters is the value that we get out of the camera. Specs can seem really, really great, and then we find out that, oh, not so much. But I'm willing to bet that Canon is targeting the R6 Mark III to be best in class. The LCD has become an important piece of kit in most modern mirrorless cameras. And the next upgrade to the R6 Mark III, well, it's going to have Canon EOS R5 Mark II owners and R1 owners grinding their teeth just a little bit when they see these features coming out to the R6 III first. Canon will introduce their new flip tilt screen that will be similar to what Panasonic and Sony have brought to their mirrorless cameras. Now, most videographers like a flippy screen, so that way when they're in front of the camera like I am here, talking head or vlogging style, they can look at themselves instead of looking at you. Now, in some cases, this doesn't work so well. So, for example, if you've got a whole bunch of cables connected to, well, USB or the HDMI port, you can't always flip that LCD all the way out and it makes it useless. Well, the A7R5 allows you to actually extend it out and then flip it out. But for photographers, wildlife photographers, anybody using a super telephoto lens, it's really handy to be able to look down the, well, barrel of the lens, and a flippy screen doesn't really allow you to do that. But to be able to actually extend the LCD out, to be able to rotate it and to orientate it to the way you want it, well, that's a really big deal. But what's really surprising is that Canon would go ahead and release this with the R6 Mark III, a camera that currently, well, I wouldn't say currently sells for $2,500, predecessor sells for $2,500. To get that Sony A7R5 style LCD in that camera for almost half the price of well, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, a camera that was just recently announced, and the R1 which just started shipping, that does pose a bit of a head scratcher. Now, the only thing I can think of is the R5 Mark II and the R1 were planned for much earlier in the year, like CP Plus 2024. And they didn't have enough, they didn't want to hold things up any further, and everything they had set was for that time frame, and the R6 Mark III was supposed to come out a year later. I don't know, I don't understand it, and part of me still kind of thinks, well, wait a minute. Is there a chance that perhaps Canon Rumors has gotten this incorrect? Well, Canon Rumors does say it comes from multiple sources, and those sources have proven to be very accurate in the past. Still, fingers crossed, because while I would like to see that, I'm a little bit nervous. And maybe that's what Canon's doing. They're testing it with the R6 Mark III to see how we adopt it, whether we like it, whether we criticize it. And if it's a success, well, then we can predict it's going to be in the upcoming Canon EOS R5 Mark III and maybe even the R3 Mark II, if we ever see that, and of course the EOS R1 Mark II. But now let's turn our attention to another feature that we're not going to see in the R5 Mark II, or that we didn't see in the R5 Mark II and the R1. And that will be Canon will be using an OLED screen on the back instead of an LCD. I know, right? Why not put that in the R1, the R5 Mark II? Look, the R1 got a discount, so maybe they did a bit of cutbacks there to keep the price down, but the R5 Mark II, it got a pretty pricey increase. So, Canon, why? Maybe you can answer this at CP+. Photo Trend always seems to get all the good answers, but why is the R6 Mark III going to get the love here and not the why the R5 Mark II didn't? Just wondering. Anyhow, I'm not going to spend all the time ranting. Let's go on to the next capabilities that have been validated by multiple sources. And this next one's an interesting one. And while it's not going to get a bump in resolution to 30 megapixels, it is getting a 24 megapixel stacked sensor. And this will give it an edge over the Nikon Z6 Mark III, which only has a partially stacked sensor. And as we predicted, the EOS R6 Mark III is getting a digic accelerator, giving the autofocus system a big boost at subject recognition. But will it also give us action priority mode, where the camera automatically tracks the player with the ball when shooting volleyball, basketball, or soccer? And when the first set of leaked specifications came out from Canon Rumors, I was a little bit puzzled why we didn't see the digic accelerator as part of those specifications. I just knew that with the R5 Mark II and the R1 getting that capability, with the Sony A7R5, well, pioneering the AI processing chip, and then every other Sony camera after that also getting it, I just knew it was going to come in the R6 Mark III, and there it is. So one thing I want to address before we get into the rest of the specifications, if you own the EOS R6 Mark II, should you consider getting this camera? Well, if you're just shooting portrait photography, if you're shooting schools and that kind of things, then you probably don't need to upgrade. But the new autofocus system with the digic accelerator, as I've seen with the EOS R5 Mark II, really improves the game, especially when you're taking photos or videos of complex scenes with multiple subjects, multiple moving subjects, or you're playing sports. And if you own the R6, the Mark I, well, there's plenty of reasons to upgrade to the R6 Mark III, and not just for photographers, but also videographers. The R6 Mark II can deliver 40 frames per second electronic in RAW, but the validated specs on Canon Rumors indicates that we're only getting 30 frames per second. Are those a better 30 frames per second? I don't know. Again, I'm just reporting what Canon Rumors are saying. Personally, I think 30 is very good. 40 is maybe better to some. But yeah, 40 for the Mark II, 30 for the Mark III. But this isn't the first time that Canon's actually, how shall we say, downgraded a successor over a predecessor in some sort of capabilities. And it actually happened with this line. The EOS R, well, it had a higher resolution, and it had, well, a better LCD with a higher resolution. So I'm just saying. All right, well, let's continue with the rest of the specifications so I don't hold up your entire day. Nikon's been providing dual card slots in their Z6 series for a few revisions now, with one of those card slots being CF Express Type B and the other an SD card slot. And what did I predict a couple of months ago? that the R6 Mark III, like the Canon EOS R5, would get dual card slots, with one of them being a CF Express Type B card slot. And, well, according to Canon rumors, that's exactly what is happening from its multiple validated sources. But there's something else that the R6 is getting in its new incarnation, and that's a full-size HDMI port. Gone is the micro HDMI port of the R6 II. And it looks like the R6 Mark III is going to have a new heat management system that Canon rumors says is going to be similar to the R5 II. So if that's the case, it will probably have some sort of heat pipes. And it's actually less of a heat pipe, as you have, you can put a battery grip on the bottom where it can suck cold air in, send it through the camera, and it comes out through the top of the camera. But inside is a rather large cavernous room. And that's right behind where all the heat's generated in the camera, so it can take the heat out. Now, I'm not so sure that's going to happen with the R6 Mark III. I'm also not sure if it's going to get some sort of cooling grip, but for Mark I owners that shot video, this is going to be a huge improvement to you. I remember earlier reports saying that if you shot and it basically started to overheat, you would have to wait some 40 to 45 minutes before you could start shooting again. It made the R6 Mark I as, well, pretty useless for shooting any sort of long and extended pieces like I'm doing here today. But let's hurry it along. Let's talk about the other specifications. It's going to be supporting, not just supporting, but it's going to have natively support for the new LP-E6P batteries, and the EVF is going to get a bump in resolution. But there's a few things it's not going to get. Unlike the R5 and the R3, it's not going to get eye-controlled autofocus. And for video shooters, this might be a reason to go to the R5 II. The R6 III isn't going to get Canon Log 2. Now, it is going to get log, but are they going to get Canon Log 3, Canon Log 1? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. And I got to look at these specifications, and from what I can see, I've been following Canon rumors for a very long time. I've been following the rumor scene for a very long time. And the way this is written, the way the story is posted, and from what I've heard from my sources in the past, everything that we can see here points towards a Q1 announcement of the R6 Mark III right around CP+. And the validated specifications, depends on what you shoot as to whether these are a big deal. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think they're a big deal. For others, they might be just, yeah, you know, I'll stick with my R6 Mark II. For others, it's like, wow, over the R6 Mark I, these are huge. Now, there is one thing I want to tell you about. I thought all the big deals of the year were over with, but I just checked B&H and Adorama today, and we've got some new sales on, better sales than we've seen over Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And I got to tell you, look, this is one of my favorite lenses, the 100 to 500 millimeter f 4.5 to 6.3. It's the best deal. Ryan, cue it up. Look at this, $500 off. That's much better than the $200 to $300 off we've seen for much of 2024. The RF 28 to 70 f2 is also $500 off, the best price we've seen all year. And we've also got the RF 15 to 35 millimeter at $500 off. And if you're interested in taking advantage of these deals at Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, then please consider using my affiliate links for B&H, Adorama, and Amazon.com below, because, well, they really help support this channel. They literally keep the lights on, and a big thanks to you, because that's what keeps this channel going, and that's why I don't have a 60 to 90 second pre-roll or affiliate placement, subscription, whatever you call it at the beginning of the video. I just don't want to do that. So for those of you that have used my links in the past, thank you so much. But if you're looking for a last minute Christmas gift, a lot of the retailers, B&H and Adorama, are offering 1 day free expedited shipping. And I also want to call out Patrick at Downtown Camera in Toronto. They ship to all of Canada, not to the United States, but he really gives you the white glove treatment. Even if you're just buying a few simple items, give Downtown Camera, try that again, give Patrick a call at Downtown Camera. I've got the links. I've got his phone number in the description down below. Mention my name, and don't be surprised if he sharpens his pencil just a little bit. Like I said, I just ordered the RF 50mm f1.4. It's showing up tomorrow. And, you know, I started using his services when I was an absolute nobody. and he gave me the white glove treatment, and he hasn't stopped. So a big thanks to Patrick. And you know what? It's now, what is it, Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't know what day it is anymore, but we're less than a week before Christmas. So if I don't put out another video between now and then, I wish you a happy Christmas, a happy Boxing Day, and a happy New Year. Thank you so much for tuning in, for using my affiliate links, for just watching my video to the very end. We'll see you. That was terrible. Try that again. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.